Hello, everyone. This is Thomas from Real Guitar Live, and today I'm going to answer all of your guitar questions, at least to my best of my ability. Thank you for joining me today. I know it's a holiday for us here in the U.S., but I thought I'd give it a try, and I don't know, might be a good time for some people to sit down for a little while and deal with the guitar thing, and then go off to the festivities or whatever you have planned. In any case, I'm going to first answer your questions. I have pre-submitted questions, and then I'll go ahead. And answer any questions in the chat. And feel free at any time to add questions to the chat. I better make it so I can see the questions in the chat. Good. I can see. So let me start out with the first question. Oh, by the way, I will do a drawing at the end. For those who are members of my Real Guitar Success membership, every month we do a drawing for those who have completed the practice sessions for the month. That just means spending 10 minutes on the daily practice sessions, and you get a new one every day. So I'll come back at that. Let's start with, is there value to learning the guitar fretboard? If so, what's the best way to go about it? So, I'll say yes. The short answer is yes, there's value to learning the guitar fretboard. If you're a brand new beginner, it's probably not the first place to go. And when I say learning the guitar fretboard, what I'm thinking of is basically knowing what the notes are all across the fretboard by sound and by name. So that's a G note, but I want to associate that with that sound also. The sound's important. It's not just about intellectualizing the names. Happy 4th, everybody. I see everybody in the comments. So I didn't take this too seriously at first, quite honestly. I just didn't think it was important to kind of technically know all the names up and down the guitar net, especially since I was brought up in kind of the world of rock and roll, and we just didn't use guitar names. We didn't read music. As a matter of fact, I heard more than once the joke that how do you make the guitar player in the band stop noodling on his guitar? And we are known for noodling when the band's having their practice sessions. Well, you put a piece of sheet music in front of them. Okay, not as funny as it used to be, but I take it more seriously now, because I found that even though it's hard to directly connect with knowing where the names are, and again, the sound is more important than even the actual name, it helps me, it makes it easier to get around the fretboard, to do all kinds of little things that I wouldn't have connected before. But I notice the more I understand the fretboard and can kind of move around, just find the same note at different places in the fretboard, that skill enables me to more easily play chords and melodies and things without having to intellectualize and think, where is every single note? So that's a bit of a long way of saying, yes, it is valuable. It's a subtle thing that's not as obvious as practicing the G chord and you play it, now you can use it in a song. It's not quite as obvious as that. And it's best done little by little over time as part of your practice, not spending a whole bunch of time trying to learn the fretboard and then go on to play songs or whatever. That would not be the way to go about this. Keep this as a part of your ongoing routine, practice routine, and something you're always going to get better at. Now, how to do that? First of all, I want to say I have a whole course on that, and all of you who are members of Real Guitar Success, I would recommend you go through that course. And it's not the kind of thing you have to go through that course and master and then do something else. You could just do a lesson or two once every couple of weeks and kind of integrate that into your practice sessions. I'll put a link to the course just to make sure you can find it. But you can find any course by going to the top bar and going to the lessons, and you'll see the Real Guitar library will have this course as well as several others. For those of you who don't have access to Real Guitar Success, I will put a link that I made a video on my blog of one way to approach, a good way to approach learning the neck. There are lots of approaches and more than I could kind of put together in this one session. But generally, I find a good place to start is to learn the sixth string. And this is what I'd really encourage beginners, where you're going to get a lot of bang for the buck. Learn the notes on the sixth string. So you could just simply name them. That's a G. If you don't know the name, try this. It's open E to start. Everybody knows that. Know the formula for notes. Notes are one whole step, which is 2 frets, of between all the notes except E and F and B and C. E and F, B and C. Important to remember that. E and F, B and C, half steps. 1 fret on the guitar, half steps. Now you can count. E and F. Oh, that means half step, 1 fret. F. So that was 1 fret, 1 half step. Open to the first fret. Now F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. A to B, that's still a whole step. B to C, there's the other one, half step. Now you know, you do that until you can say G. You know, of course you do it 5 minutes at a time, 3 minutes at a time, and just keep coming back. After a while, you say A, C. You'll be able to do that, really. That won't take too long. Now start trying to get the notes in between, right? If you're on G, a half step up is, you could call that G sharp or A flat. We call that enharmonic. It is the 2 names for the same sound, enharmonic. You can think of it as going from A backwards, A flat, or G up, G sharp. It is sound-wise the same note, looks different on paper, and we call it a different name. I would say for guitar players, probably just focus on the sharps for now. We just don't tend to play a lot of flats as much as sharps. So just a place to start. It's good to acknowledge that that note could be more, could also be A flat. And then fill in the notes in between. Not going to be one between B and C and E and F, right? From B to C, no note. Even that, in more higher end music theory, you could say there's things like double sharps, double flats. No need to go there, really. It's just more of an intellectual exercise for guitar players. Now, you see, this will really help you play bar chords, because right away I can say, here's a major form of a bar chord, and it's a G, because the note's on the G. That's where the root is. Go up 2 frets, now it's an A bar chord. B, C. Very practical use for it right away. Also, and this is sort of the more subtle practical use for it, it's a lot easier to find all the other notes starting with the 6th string. Now you can go up, the next thing I might do is go up by octaves. Look at this shape. This 2 frets up and 2 strings over makes an octave off the 6th string. And I would go and play those octaves. A. So that's an A over there, 1 octave A. B. You've kind of got a little inroad to learning the notes on the 4th string by counting the octaves. Then you can do things like go from the bass note to the 5th. The 5th is going to be 2 frets up and 1 string over. So a 5th from G would be G, A, B, C, D. Just count up 5. So now I know that's a D note on the 5th string. 5th. A, B, C, D, E. 5th. And so on. You can see this. That would be the place to start, and that would be plenty. That would keep you busy for a while. There's more, and you can take it farther and farther until you see all the patterns up the next. More octaves. And 5ths. Start learning the to where you can just quickly bounce the notes all up and down the fretboard. It actually got easier faster than I expected it to. At first, it just seems like mind-numbing, but after a while, I found what will happen to you is you'll hit the note and your fingers will just go there without even having to think. And you kind of hear the sound in your head and your finger goes there. It's practice. You get used to it. Okay, so I'll make myself a note to put some links there. Show notes will be out, I think, Monday or Tuesday. My assistant's traveling right now, but I'm pretty sure she'll get them done early next week. Next question. I have a couple of questions, okay? Do we bar the entire 3rd fret across the 6 strings when you're making a 5th string bar chord or a 5th root bar chord? 5th root bar chord is any bar chord that has the root on the 5th string. So this is the first one often people learn. That's an A form moved up. You can play it that way. Play it that way. That's common on electric guitar and rock and roll. Let's play it that way. little harder on classical guitar. I used to play it this way. So the root's here on the 5th string. Here, that would be the root. So that's a D note. That would be a D major bar chord. When I play the bar, you can see I don't really need that 6th string. So you don't have to push your finger across to the 6th string. You could. And that note on the 6th string is actually a part of the chord. It's just not the root. It's actually the 5th of the chord. And if you're doing any kind of alternating bass notes, you would want to cover that 6th string. You don't have to. That said, I almost always do because it's easier for me to, when I bar, to just bar, not think, oh, it's a 5th root, so I don't have to bar all the way across. Oh, it's a 6th root, I'm going to bar it across. My fingers just go to a bar, and then I form whatever chord I need. Works for me. Might be easier for you. I could see it would take less pressure to just go over to the 5th string, so that might be something for a beginner. And I have seen many guitar players who do that, distinguish. They'll just bar that much, and then if they're barring a 6th string, they'll move over. Whichever works best for you. I don't think there's an absolute right way here. Do we strum the 6th string as well, or just the remaining 5 strings? So he's asking if when you do bar the 6th string, do you strum that along? I would say yes. If you're strumming, don't worry about it. It's not something to concentrate on. It's more of an intellectual thing. Yeah, you can hit that 6th string. But the real answer is don't worry about it. Just strum. The note is in the chord. You're not going to notice it. If you're playing bass notes, you're going to hit the 5th string for the bass note. Like if you're doing and the alternate bass note would be a 6th string. Next question. Shulamit asks, what do you do if a string breaks on your guitar and you're not in a situation where you can change it? So, yeah, that happens. I understand a little more what she's thinking, but here's my first my first answer to that. Always carry an extra pack of strings in your guitar case. Personally, I don't want to be in a situation where I can't change the string on a guitar. Or I can't get to a guitar store because I don't have an extra string. Just carry an extra pack. One extra pack will cover all the strings. And if you break a string and replace it, now remember, get that string replaced because sooner or later, let's say it's the 1st string. Oh, you take the 1st string out of your pack, put it on. Now, a week later, you bust the 1st string and, oh, you already used it. Just replace it right away. Just keep that as a habit. Always keep a full set in your guitar case. That said, well, let's say you're on the beach and you can't just stop and run and get your string and put it on. Well, there's no one right answer here. It depends on which string you break and what you're trying to do. If you're just strumming chords and you break most any string, I would just pretend that string's not there. That's what I would do. I would just pretend that string didn't break and just play and just do the best I could. So let's say I'm playing a G chord and this string busts. I'm not going to try and avoid that string. I'll just play and act like it's still there, and hopefully nobody will notice. If the bass note is gone, maybe I would probably just finger the chord. It's too much work for me to it doesn't make sense to sit there and try and think of how am I going to refinger this chord because the string's broken, considering how few times you'd be in a situation where you really couldn't get another string on the guitar. So I don't think it's worth energy trying to figure out chords if the string was busted, is what I'm trying to say. And then that would depend on which string was busted. Next question, I realize there are relative scales like C major and A minor. So it feels like, in a way, you practice one and you're practicing the other. Should they sound different? Because I know about the light and dark tone of major versus minor. Or is that all in the chords? Okay, I'm going to kind of rephrase this a little bit the way I understand it. First of all, the scales have relative majors and minors. So a C scale has a relative minor scale that uses the exact same notes. Here's a C scale. Now here's an A minor scale. It is the same notes. I just started on A. There, I used it in the same place as the C scale. Or if I start on C, it sounds like C. Now you'll notice the sound of the scale is based on the spaces between the notes and the order they're in. So if I play, I keep going back to that C note. I started on the C note. I might kind of emphasize, play the C note like the strong points of a measure. It's going to sound like it's in C major. It's not going to sound like A minor. Now, it does depend on the harmony, too, meaning the chords that you're playing along with those notes. But for the most part, if you're just playing melody, depending on which notes you start, end on, and emphasize, it's going to sound like a major or minor chord. If I'm doing something in A minor, I'm going to emphasize A minor. Listen. I started and ended on the A note. That sounds minorish, right? It's the same notes from the C scale, but I emphasize the A note. And again, it's not just starting and starting, but there's strong parts of measures where you can, I hear it. I hear when it's sounding like the note is kind of defining what scale I'm using. If you're playing chords, it does matter. If I'm playing, I'm playing chords in the key of A minor. I started with the A minor chord. I use the 5 chord in the key, and that really pushes back to the. It has this feeling of being an A minor. Now, whatever I play scale-wise, and if it fits with that chords, it's going to sound like it's an A minor, no matter what I do. And the same if I were playing a song in C major, and very strong harmony in C major, it's going to sound like C major as long as I'm playing notes that are going along with those chords. That's just another way of thinking about it, so to speak. In short, practicing the C scale is not the same as practicing the C scale and practicing the A minor scale. And part of that is because you're training your ears to hear what notes sound right in each scale. And the order does make a difference. Practicing this sounds like a C scale. I started on C and I stopped there because the emphasis is you want to hear it go to the end, to the C scale. I would say practice your A minor and your C scale and practice them slowly and accurately from top to bottom. That will help your ears to train what notes sound right in what order in each of the scales. The fingering might be a little different. For instance, when I play A minor scale, I often go to this one. Whereas for C, I might play it this way. I could play here. But it makes the fingering kind of difficult. Okay. Do you do a lesson on baby chords? Yes, many. Baby chords are just, I call these triads baby chords. 3 notes on the top strings. Triad meaning 3 notes, triad. And the 3 note defines a chord. This is a major chord. It's a minor chord. I call those baby chords, little, short, small chords, usually in the high register. Let me see. Could this be a baby chord? Doesn't sound like baby to me. Whatever. I can put a few links in the show notes to some lessons. Generally speaking, what I do is each day during the week, 5 days a week, I produce a guitar session. And they're usually for each week based on a theme. So usually a song or a challenge. Excuse me. And I'll integrate lessons on baby chords in those sessions. So I don't have like a whole course on baby chords. I just integrate them into sessions. And my intention is that once somebody's completed the beginner's journey, they're going to every day do a guitar session and whatever else they want to do. But spend 10 minutes each day on the guitar sessions, and then you'll get a chance to do those lessons on baby chords or any other lessons. And you can decide if you want to spend more time. You can save it to your favorites, come back at it later. That way you can collect your own lesson program, so to speak. You'll have your favorites, and these are lessons that you want to come back to or spend more time on. That way each person can kind of customize their own lesson program. If you're not interested in baby chords, you don't have to save it, and you don't have to worry about it. So that's my approach to teaching in the Real Guitar Success membership. I realize, oh, okay. That's the end of the pre-submitted questions. Yep. Let's see if we got any questions over here. By the way, it really helps me if you start with the word question. It's just because there's a lot of comments and I can't really read each one to decide if it's a comment or a question. So I'm going to look for question. And if you didn't put the name question to start with already and I missed it, just add it at the end. I really want to get to it. Question. Happy 4th, everybody. Question. I'm new at guitar and I was wondering, how long did it take you to learn bar chords? Oh, well, how long did it take me to learn bar chords? I don't really know because I wasn't timing myself. I mean, it was 30 years ago, honestly, 40 maybe. It was more than 40. God, time flies. And they just were. I mean, I just kept at it until I got it, and I didn't really pay attention how long. I was a teenager. I would say for most people, learning bar chords, if you do it steady, and if you work on it regularly, and you know your basic open chords, because that'll help you play bar chords, probably to get good at them, 3 months to a year, I would say. And that's if you're working at it regularly. And you do it in some kind of systematical order. If you just play a song with bar chords and every day you try and play a song with another bar chord, it's probably not going, it's going to take longer, let's put it that way, for most people. It's just because you're not getting enough practice on the specific techniques that'll help make bar chords sound good. Just that song type approach. But if you follow a program or some kind of systematic exercises and work up to them step by step, it'll go much faster. And then integrate that into songs and play songs that use the chords. Start with probably the major bar chord. A lot of people start with F, which is because you need it. Any song in the key of C is likely to have an F chord. Unfortunately, it's one of the harder ones. I would encourage, if you're learning bar chords, start with, before you need it for a song, start playing them up in the middle of the neck and then back it into the F. That would save a lot of stress for a lot of people. Okay, next. Thank you for putting the word question, Peyton. I appreciate that. Question. Is there any difference between pentatonic scale and the scale of a key like C scale for soloing? Rogelio. Okay. So, now Rogelio is a little bit of a, I think it might be just a terminology issue here. A scale is a collection of notes, and it can have different qualities depending on what else you say about it. A scale, this is a scale. It's also a C scale. I started on C, end on C, and the collection of notes centers around the note C. So it's a C scale. But now there's a quality to it. It's a C major scale. It's not a C minor. It's not a C pentatonic. So a C pentatonic scale is going to be one set of notes. Pentatonic, by the way, means 5. So it's going to be a 5-note scale. Here's a C pentatonic scale. Sounds different, right? That's a C pentatonic scale. It's a C scale, but it's also a pentatonic scale. It's a minor pentatonic scale. So I had to add a little more to it. It's pentatonic, meaning it has 5 notes, but there's a major and a minor pentatonic. So this is a minor pentatonic. I can say it sounds minor, but also it has the minor third in it. From here to here is a minor third, as opposed to the major third. Okay, I don't want to get too theoretical there. I'm going to deal with the scale issue. Now, there's a C major pentatonic. There, all 5 notes in there. So, you can solo with a C major scale. You can solo with a C minor pentatonic scale. You can solo with a C major pentatonic scale. They have different sounds. There's no absolute right or wrong. There's some issue about what style of music you're playing. You know, in classical music, we use a lot of the major and minor scales as opposed to pentatonic. But it doesn't mean you couldn't squeeze the pentatonic here and there somewhere. It starts sounding like more like pop, rock, country if you did, but it's been done. And vice versa. You know, we tend to use a lot of minor pentatonic scales in rock and blues. But country, both minor pentatonic and major pentatonic. A lot of this... that's a major pentatonic. That's a bright, happy sound. Minor pentatonic, more rock, blues. Minor, kind of bluesy sound, I call it. I hope that helps, Rogelio. Please feel free to ask another question. Maybe I can even clarify it some more. And I think sometimes it helps to just answer a question, get something out there, and then it helps you kind of clarify another question you could ask that gets more at the issue that you're wondering. I'm not sure I completely covered what you're wondering, what you're thinking about. How do rhythm guitarists fight boredom? Mary, thank you for adding the word question. I caught it right away. I see that first no question, and I missed that one. Could you elaborate? I'm wondering, see, that question, first of all, makes the assumption that rhythm guitarists are bored. And it sounds like you might be bored. I'm not. I played rhythm guitar for years, and I wasn't bored. Playing the rhythm accurately with other people in time was quite exciting, actually. Playing with other people, by the way, that might be part of the answer. Playing with drum machines and something that gave me rhythm, because I did find it boring just doing this. Because I couldn't tell if I was slowing down, speeding up. And I noticed that with a lot of students. They really can't tell. They tend to slow down when they get to a more difficult chord, and it gets to be a habit, and that sounds normal to them, slowing down, speeding up. Play with a drum machine. By the way, I just found a cool drum machine on my iPad. If you want to check out a drum machine, I'll see if I can find it and put it in the show notes. I really like it a lot, and I've been using it for practice. It's designed for practice, by the way, and I think it would benefit everybody. It costs like $7, but I've got my $7 worth over and over. Fun for me to practice along with a drum machine. I can practice with a metronome, but a drum machine, you know, I'll try a different beat, practice for 10 minutes, then try a different beat. And now it's like I'm starting over again. I never got bored also because I kept expanding the chords I was learning. I mean, I'm still learning new chords, especially with a jazzy type. And I just learned a kind of a new blues progression with more jazzy type blues that I actually still working on. And then there's flamenco chords, stuff like this. Oh. Different rhythms. Rhythms can make simple chords sound great. That was a chord going from a bar to a fifth root bar, but even that plain G bar chord I could play with a number of different rhythms and make it sound totally different. That with a drum machine, it's a lot of fun. I find one of the way I say interested in something is keep tearing down to little pieces and try to get a small piece correct. For me, with rhythm, that would be like playing with a drum machine and trying to get the chord change right on the beat. Without any kind of overlap or flam. And for a lot of beginners, that would be a great practice, and a little at a time, because it's something that would enhance all of your playing if you get better at really nailing the beat right in the middle of the beat. I had a drummer one time tell me, try to hit right towards for this type of music, the middle of the beat. Don't go at the beginning or the end of the beat. And I'm thinking, gee, we're not talking about just getting the beat, but now there's a beginning, there's a front part and a back part of the beat. And I've learned over the years, yeah, you're playing blues, you kind of be one more on the back part of the beat. It's subtle, but those little things can keep it interesting and of course, improve your playing. Let me know if you can think of some more questions related to that, Mary. I'd be happy to answer. And yes, Rajeli, I'll put you will have access to the entire course. And I think you'll have fun with it. I'll put it in the show notes. He's asking for the course to the fretboard. Oh, somebody says the screen's freezing, and then somebody said not hers. My screen's not freezing, but yeah, internet speeds come and go, huh? Question, what suggestion for switching C to G, G to C? Oh, Shantae, that's a great question, because it's often a chords that you learn early and can do a lot with. But yeah, that's the issue. It's not just playing the chord, but switching in time. There's a number of different ways to approach it, but the heart of them is kind of narrowing down and focusing in on what's going on with your C to G. So I would start with very slowly, no metronome, no beat, nothing. Just form your G chord and look carefully and see where the fingers are going to make your C chord. Now, there are different ways to form a G and a C chord. Let me see. I'm going to pick one. Just, of course, you have to, whichever way you're forming it, it's probably fine. You just need to deal with it from that position. So I teach a lot of students to start with a 4-finger G and to make this form of C. Technically, it's called a C add 9. I think of it more like a modern C chord. It's used in a lot of pop rock music nowadays. And modern country, as opposed to the folk style C, which is like that. It's not right or wrong. Eventually, you want to know both and be good at both. So if you're using this G to C, you would practice by keeping these 2 fingers right here and just moving these 2 fingers over. And just do that consciously. Then strum each one so you know how it's sounding. See, first I'm doing it just to concentrate on the fingers. I'm not worried about if I'm getting them exact right, just moving them. I'm moving it at the same time over. Then I'm going to strum and see if they're all sounding. If it sounds like that, I'm going to spend a few minutes and just move it around, get the sound right. Now, if you're doing this kind of G, you're going to do the same thing, and to this C, you just need to see, it's more movement. That's one of the reasons I do this. See how you're just moving 2 fingers. But if you're going from here to here, you got more movement. By the way, a lot of people, I used to teach people this 3-finger G because the pinky is hard for people. And that's why I went to this one. It's still the pinky, but this 3rd finger makes it easier and it stays put when you're moving to a C. But going from here to a C is not that much movement either, and very valuable. I use it a lot still. So once you do that, now you want to start changing in beat and start very slow. Drum machine or metronome is good, and just strum and let 4 beats go by. 4, and in the meantime, move to the next chord. 2, 3. So it's a process I'm describing. This is not a trick where you just do this and all of a sudden you can go from C to G. What I'm doing here is looking to see which fingers have to move and how far. So it helps a lot of people to think which finger first. I like to get the low string first, so I'm thinking this 3rd finger goes first. That's a temporary stage. Kind of like if you're riding a bicycle, you start with training wheels and eventually take them off. The same thing. I'm thinking, get the 3rd finger over. Because if I'm strumming, I'm going to hit that 3rd string, not 3rd string, 5th string. I'm going to hit that first, 3rd finger. And then the other 2 fingers can go down. Eventually, all at the same time. Now you keep upping the ante. You're strumming every 4 beats. Now strum every 2 beats. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now try every beat. 1, 2, 1. That's pretty easy. Start picking up the speed. Then try playing it with a song. What a lot of people do, unfortunately, is they think they're getting better by playing songs with C and G in it, but you have to play the whole song to change from C to G a few times. It takes you forever. If you play a whole song 3 minutes and you play it 10 times, that's a half an hour. You might have worked on the C and G transition, maybe not even got it right, but probably all of 3 minutes in that period of time, 5 minutes maybe. If you practice an exercise for 10 minutes, you've practiced it 3 times as long, and you can focus on getting it right. Do that a little bit every day for a week. Now you're going to be able to change from C to G in time, smoothly. After you do that, by the way, I usually add some simple strum and then start upping the strum and so on. There's more grades to it. Good question. Thanks, Shante. I enjoy following your strumming classes, but just strumming alone is boring. Yeah, try, I'd say, nothing wrong with playing along with something too, but try it with a drum machine, really. Try it with a drum machine and start very slow and start picking up the speed a little bit. And Kevin says he spent some time on chord practice just making the change slowly to ensure the fingers are moving efficiently. Yes, that's exactly what a nice elaboration of what I was trying to describe in the beginning, just really looking at how you're moving your fingers, your hand position. Maybe not even playing. Then you're focusing on one thing at a time. Then you add the playing. Now you've got another issue, whether or not the notes are sounding right. Yes, step by step. Good. That's all the questions I have for now. Good questions. If you think of another question, I'm going to do the drawing, and I'll check one more time and see and catch any last-minute questions. Feel free to add whatever comes to your mind. Really, I'm happy to answer. Let's do the drawing. So again, this, for anybody that came in later, this is a drawing for members of Real Guitar Success. Every day they have a practice session. Just spend 10 minutes, decide if you want to save it in your favorites or not. At the end of the month, when you've checked off all 20 practice sessions, I put you in a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. And let's see, we've got a hat full here. And today, Kevin, you got a $50 Amazon gift card coming to you. And everybody who has completed the guitar sessions for the month of June, congratulations, you did a great job. I'm proud of you. Any last minute questions before I move on? Anything? Oh yeah. Your answer is helpful. Thank you, Agelio. But a link added for the soloing for those examples would be helpful as well. Thank you for everything. Shante says thank you to Kevin. Okay, it looks like that's all the questions for today. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for spending part of your holiday with me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you again. I'll be back the first Thursday of every month, next Thursday. See you there. Next month, Thursday. And by the way, if you think of any questions ahead of time, feel free to shoot them over. I'll not only add them to the next month's live session. And by the way, I always record this, so if you can't make it, don't worry. You can come back and watch and see the answer. I'll do a timestamp so you can actually get right to your question if you want. And if you submit ahead of time, I'll even read the question ahead and think about it, maybe even do a little research if it warrants it. I can try and give it my best answer possible. Take care for now. Happy 4th of July. Bye.